We're live. On both sides. That's good. A bit late. 25 minutes late. Apologies, ladies and gentlemen. But that's the way I have to do something. So, what are we talking about? Identity crisis in terms of, what is it, enabling mothers? Absent fathers.
Yeah.
So, let me just find myself on here.
Oh, you have to go to the. Yeah, there it is.
Decided he didn't want me to see it. So, here we go. What are we talking about today? Enabling mothers versus absent fathers equals identity crisis. Oh, goodness. Got right all sorts of things going on. Good. Now, I'm hoping that this will be interesting for some people. But some people might not really like what we'll say, but anyway, so be it. Now, this is not necessarily a black or white thing, but neither was what I spoke about last week. Last week we spoke about, or we began talking about, the gangs and why some young people are going into gangs and things like that. And when we spoke about that, we said it wasn't really particularly a black or white issue, but it is a family issue, a parenting issue, etc. And my belief is that there are some very serious issues with how people are parenting their children and young people. There's some serious issues where, what would I say, families are concerned. The family identity is at stake. So really that's what we're talking about, because if the family identity is at stake, then the person, as they grow, their personal identity will also be at stake. So let's talk about the enabling mothers first. So what do I mean when I'm saying an enabling mother? Last week I said that we've got some of those mothers who absolutely deny anything that their child does, whether it's a male or female. Statistically, people will like to tell us that this is it's an issue of black people. Many of them, the mothers are single mothers and so forth. But it's not. It's more of a people issue.
Yeah.
It's more also of a poverty issue to a certain extent, but not entirely. But it's the fact is that whichever way you want to study it or look at it, doesn't matter. The issue is what happens to those children and young people as they grow up. And the fact is that there are many. Let's talk about the boys first. When they're growing up in that household where there isn't a male figure, male role model, whether it be their own father or a strong stepfather or an uncle or granddad or somebody like that, which are often many of the single mother households, they don't have any strong male role model on any level. So these young men, they grow up with mummy, and of course when they're very small, it's great, because it's not so difficult whilst they're very small for them to be disciplined and so on. But then the issue now comes that they get to an age where they're just rude. And these boys become more rude and more rude because they think, well, mum is a woman, she can't tell me what to do, and the issue becomes stronger as they decide not to involve their parents in any of the issues. And this is part of the problem, that now what comes then is that then they start to have this indiscipline, which has already started in the house. And some of the mothers, they actually really know. what their small boys are like, but they decide that my son is not like that. My son is a good boy, but then you know your son is out on the road and doing God knows what. Right? I remember many years ago, I was probably my late teens by that time, and there was a pub at the top of the street where we were living with my parents. And a little boy in there called Philip, who he had a sister as well. I can't remember. I think the sister's name was Annabelle. And Philip couldn't have been more than about 4 years old, but he was in the pub environment all the time, and parents didn't stop him from being around. He was in and out of the pub. I have never heard a 4-year-old who could swear so much. That boy could swear at you until he would take patches out of your skin. The way how he would swear and tell you everything about you from top, bottom, and inside out. He was the most rude, feisty, and out of order boy that I've ever come across in my life. And certainly, without a shadow of a doubt, 100%, it was to do with the environment in which he was in every day. The parents didn't really have any time for him. They would just basically chuck money at him and pretend him to go and buy his own things. You know, we're talking a long time ago, so back in the day, then everybody could go to the shop and buy what they wanted. And this boy was up and down like a road on the streets. And like he talking to adults like he himself was a big man. And there was no form of discipline whatsoever with him. And you know, there are many who fall into that category where there isn't any discipline because the mothers, especially now, especially the single household, my son is good, my son is not the one, and they're blaming everybody else except their son. So their son now grows up with the rudeness that maybe his mum can manage when he's in the house. But the problem now comes that now he gets onto the street as he gets a bit older, and there's guys on the street try to teach him their version of manners. You see? Or he has no manners or discipline when he goes to school. The school can't control him. And when now they call the mother and say, listen, this is the way your little Johnny, not this Johnny. This Johnny was cool in school. But your little Johnny is very disruptive and rude and, you know, all of this. No, not my son. And they blame everybody else, point the finger, and all of these type of things because, of course, their boy can't be the one. And this is a problem that we're having, that they've got these enabling mothers, and it starts from such an early age with these boys that as they grow up, they think, well, I can't be told off. I can't be told when I'm wrong. I can't be challenged, and I'm not wrong because my mum says I'm right and my mum says I'm good. And you know, it becomes an issue and a problem. They spoil them. So they don't learn any discipline, they don't learn any manners, they don't learn how to share with other people, they don't learn how to be productive, they just learn that I'm the king of the castle and everybody else is trash. Because that's the way mummy is allowing them to be. Now, right now, I'm only talking about the boys. The girls, the story is not that dissimilar, where there are enabling mothers. And the issue is that, you know, we could ask the question, so these young people, are they the product of environment, as in their peers, or they are the product of parenting? And it's a bit of both, and this is where the issue is. And we're not trying to tell people how they should live. We're just having a discussion about things and sharing our view and our understanding. You know, I suppose people would look at it and say this is the nurture and nature argument to an extent, which it is. But certainly, whether people like it or not, if there is no discipline within the home, if the parents are not bringing any form of discipline to the children, they certainly can't expect them to have any anywhere else. But then what happens is that the enabling mothers begin to blame society. You know, there are many young men who are locked up in prison right now who are there because of their mothers. It's 100% fact. The mothers have failed them. We'll come to the fathers, so those fathers who might listen to this at any time and think, yeah, we got out of it. No, the fathers are coming to that. And I'm a father too, so I'm not going to leave the men out of it, but I'm just saying at this point that the enabling mothers have forgotten that when there was a time and a point when they could have disciplined that young man and that little boy, taught him some manners and brought him into line heavily, also maybe began to look at some of the things that they say about men within their household. And you know, this is one of the things that is an issue. I had mentioned this before in another conversation that there are so many women who are busy saying that all men are dogs, but yet they're growing up a little man who they're calling my king and my prince. Well, he's your king and your prince, and he also says woof woof. Because if all men are dogs, he also is going to be one.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're raising these boys, busily talking in your house because you have your own issue with whatever male figures have been in your life. All men are dogs, all men are dogs, all men are rubbish. Or maybe what I've heard a lot, particularly when I was living in Kenya, many Kenyan women, I don't want anything to do with Kenyan men. Kenyan men are useless, Kenyan men are rubbish, Kenyan men are insensitive, and they've got sons. And I used to ask them the same thing all the time. You're very busy saying those things, and your son, who is now a Kenyan boy, will one day be a Kenyan man. So what is it that you are doing to make sure that this Kenyan boy, who becomes a Kenyan man, will not be as useless as the other Kenyan men who you see and who you talk about in front of your Kenyan son, who will become a Kenyan man, and you are saying that Kenyan men are rubbish. So what will he be, and how will you do that? And, you know, I'm still waiting for the answer, actually, because it is an issue. It is an issue. I started off talking, and I'm not going to be the only one talking, so you know, I've talked for about 12 minutes, and that's cool. Tamar, you're going to say a few things, so because you said you had some statistics,
Yeah.
you can share with us. Because you know, we need to delve into this, and that's not a subject that people really want to touch on very easily. And you know,
I think all our subjects are like that.
I'm not really, I know,
Well,
I'm not really
lying.
trying to please people.
Well,
You know, with what we pick, we're just speaking about reality.
Yeah.
You know, and some of these things hit home because you know, we also have, I have children, Tamar, Angelica has one. But you know, we understand from a personal perspective some of these things. So we're not just trying to just be instructive on a nonsensical level. We're saying the things we are because we're trying to just make people start to think about their parenting. And this doesn't necessarily have to be from a Christian perspective. It is a life perspective. What helps life? What is good for life? And so, you know, we started talking about the enabling mothers, and then we're going to go on and talk about the absent fathers. And the absent fathers, let me just put it out there as a, you know, introductory understanding. We're not just talking necessarily about them being absent physically, as in not in the home. There are many fathers who are in the home, but they're still absolutely absent. So we're going to talk about that from both aspects. So, Tamar, your statistics, thank you very much.
Right. So I was looking up some statistics, and it's quite interesting actually. I'll just read this. Well, they're most of them are from the UK, some of them are from America, but in my opinion, it's all one and the same. Everyone.
UK and US are similar.
Similar in style.
UK jumps when America sits down. So,
Yeah, exactly.
you know.
So this quote here is from C.C. Harper and S.S. McClanahan, right? Which says the strongest predictor of whether a person will end up in prison is that they were raised by a single parent. Right? So that's just a little the beginning of it. And it says these are from a while ago, but in my opinion, still relevant.
Still relevant.
You know what I mean? It was there. It says. In 1996, 70% of inmates in state juvenile detention centers, so that's like child prison, serving long sentences were raised by single mothers. Yeah. So when we further go on.
The state juvenile detention, we're talking about rank boys,
Yeah.
basically.
Rude.
Okay,
children,
sorry for the English.
YOI.
For the English people, we're talking about those rude young offenders.
Yeah.
Who have to end up being in prison,
Yeah.
if you like. And even they're of an age where you wouldn't want to see them locked up. But there are some boys like that. I used to work with some of them, and believe you me, they are more than tasty.
Yeah, they are.
They think that they are a man. You can't tell them anything. Nobody tell them. Even one of them even challenged me and told me, "My mum never told me off and never told me anything. So who are you?" This is where it all starts from.
Yeah.
So now when we have the issue of seeing young people fighting with police on the road, sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes, many times, we have to look a little deeper than just blaming the police. The police are terrible and they like beating up young people and they like beating up black young people and all of this. It's not as simple as that.
No,
I've worked in prison, I've worked in security for many years, not anymore now, but I used to. And I have looked after and dealt with both black, white, Asian, everybody. And some of these young people, I'll talk more later, but you're joking.
Right, so the next statistic is 72% of juvenile murderers and 60% of rapists came from single mother homes. Yeah. Then when you actually read the next part, it says after controlling the single motherhood. Yeah, so they're saying after they take the variable of the single motherhood into account, yeah, the difference between black and white crime rates disappeared.
Mm-hmm.
So what does that tell you? It ain't got nothing to do.
It's got nothing to do. It's
black
got
and
nothing to do with color.
white. No,
That's not the issue.
it's to do with parenting.
To do with parenting and environment.
Yeah. So
Where there is indiscipline, it will become a problem.
right, and I've just got a few more of these which I think are quite shocking. This is only from 2002 as well. So it says children brought up in single mother homes are 5 times more likely to commit suicide, 9 times more likely to drop out of high school, 10 times more likely to abuse chemical substances, 14 times more likely to commit rape, 20 times more likely to end up in prison, and 32 times more likely to run away from home. Yeah, so these statistics ain't lying, are they? This is the reality.
Well,
and we're not saying every single parent house is good. We're talking about the ones where the parenting is not correct. They're not being raised correctly. This is the result of what's happening.
They're not being challenged.
Yeah, they're not being challenged.
Little Johnny is not being challenged on his rude behavior.
Yeah, all their behaviors are not being corrected, challenged, and also furthermore, they're not creating good behaviors for their child either. So if you're not every day you're just telling your child, oh, get lost. I'm watching my show, shove off, or I'm eating my, you're not even eating dinner with them and asking them, oh, how was their day? All these small things people don't realize, but that is how you raise your child in the right way. Yeah, it does. And I think a lot of people, a lot of people don't understand how it is to be in a household like that. But when you go to them people that have problems, lots of them come from households like that. Oh, my mum didn't even care about me. She used to just give me my food and tell me to shove off outside. And I had to play outside with my friends until
it was cold.
Until it was cold. And then then I could come back in. But even if they tried before that, the mum's telling them no, they're not coming in, and they don't want to be around them and all these types of things. And this affects a person in the long run, because if your mother is not even accepting of you, then you're just always going to walk around society thinking that no one is going to accept you. And that's why then I think it creates the bad aggressive behaviors, or it's hard for them to be in society as a normal person because they didn't learn any normal behaviors from their mum when they were young. They were just there getting taught how to be ranked. And then they wonder why their child is ranked. If you're telling your child, oh, shove off, get lost, what do you think your child is then going to be saying to everyone else? The same thing. I think it's quite simple. You know, people laugh all the time when they see little videos of children and they're doing, you know, adult things and all these types of, you know, saying adult things they've heard their parents. Yeah, and yeah, that's nice and that's funny, but that's the good side of it. What about the bad side of it? Yeah, because that's why you then see the person is 10 and they're smoking cigarette on the road with their little pals. Yeah, why would they think that that's all right? Yeah, because their parents are doing it. Even the other day, when I walked to the bus stop. I'm walking back with my nephew, and we were walking, and then we walked past this household with a mum. There was a mum there. I didn't see a dad, but I'm not gonna like say there weren't no dad, but more there probably weren't no dad. So there was a mum there, and she with her sister, I think it was, because they looked similar. And then there was like a few children, so it must have been like some of them are it's their children, however many is which. And one little girl was swearing. She was only about 10, maybe 9, 10, and she was swearing like a trooper. Yeah, swearing it up hard. Yeah, and the mum was there chatting to the sister, just smoking her cigarette. Oblivious to smoking her cigarette. It was only when because the child was trying to fix something on her bike, I think the chain. So then when she's now got angry, she's flung her bike across the road, yeah, onto the other side, and then swearing some more. So that's only then when the mum suddenly then woke up. Oh, what the F are you doing?
No, there you go.
You F, bleep, 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 swearing it up. Get in the effing bleep and all of this. Get in the house and stop effing swearing. Well, where do you think she's learning it from? Do you know what I mean? When I saw that, this is me. I just had to walk quick. Even my nephew was looking and thinking, what the heck?
All the young black kids taking the lives of other black kids. You can blame the system for taking the brakes off the car, but you cannot blame the system for getting in the car and driving it. We need to face facts. The system is definitely set up to let you fail. But know this, you cannot stop a bird from flying over your head, but you can stop it from making a nest in your head.
Absolutely. Yeah, Freddie Cokie.
Yeah, Freddie Cokie, that comment is correct, 100%. It's the truth. And I think when that's what also comes to, once again, I feel like the raising of you, because we have been raised in a way that we already know that the system is against us.
Yeah, but everybody doesn't know that.
Yeah, that's the point I'm making. Yeah, that's the point I'm making. So we've been raised in that way, but then other black people, or even just people in general, have not been raised in that way, because
those are the people that are saying the system has failed them.
Yeah,
the system was never designed
for you. The system did not fail you. It was never designed.
The system wasn't designed for you.
It was never designed.
It's never been. It's not even designed for poor. Because people are like, oh, all white people. No, not even all white people. They're not even on all white people. They don't even care about those lower class white people. They're the same as us.
That's right.
That's how they feel. They're not interested in the lower class or anybody person of color. That's just simple. That's how it works. Because that's why I feel like, like I said, a lot of people are growing up, they're not understanding, why is the world like this to me? Why am I going to try and get a job and the person don't want to give me the job and all these types of things. And if they've grown up in a household where they've already been rejected and they feel like their mum don't even want them around,
or their dad,
or their dad doesn't want them around, or maybe their dad's not there, and then the mum is just interested in her boyfriend or drinking her drinks and whatever, do you know what I mean? Then they grow up to then become that person. When they go out into the world, everybody is the enemy.
Everybody is against them.
Yeah, everybody's against them. Everybody's the enemy. And so even when you're trying to help them, oh, they don't want no help from you, and all these types of
Right,
things.
the balance.
Yeah.
You know, let me just let me say something about balance, because I like what Freddie has put there, because actually there's an issue there that the indiscipline of a black child versus the indiscipline of a white child. Let's talk about children first, and or others. Now, the issue that arises out of that is that when it's in the schooling system, for instance, those two people are looked at quite differently. And this I know from experience. I went to school in England as well, so I know. And you guys, my children here, they've gone to school here, and I have two sons also.
Yeah.
So I know. And I've been to the schools many times. So there becomes a difference, because they begin to make prejudicial assumptions based on the fact that this is a black child, and they make these assumptions, or maybe the father is divorced from the mother, or separated, or he made that child and he's not living in the house. And automatically the school itself begins to make prejudicial assumptions about that. And yes, there are many white children who are in the same situation, but they don't leave them with the same feeling of stigma or prejudice in that same setting or situation. So we have the fact then that this black child may be having let's say no father figure at home. He may have a enabling mother, or he may have a mother who is indifferent. So she just ignores how he behaves and what he does and all of that. When I say he, it could be a she, but let's use the he. So this child now already has issues in the household because certain things are missing. He then goes to school and he has those same issues because he feels now nobody's on my side in the house. Nobody's on my side at school. The teachers are against me, but yet he can do the same thing as a white child and not suffer the same consequences and not have the same outcome. Now, the problem with this is that we, parents, need to recognize that so that we also can educate our children, which is why I do things like this. And there may be many people who are like, oh, this guy again, what in the heaven's name is he talking about? Why is he on there blabbing on again about whatever? But it's cool because I like talking. I was born talking, practicing, so I'll keep blabbing because I can. But my point is that when we leave it as simple as just jumping on about black and white issues, we miss it. Because it is my responsibility to educate my children on how they should behave. And even if I sit down in my home, as my daughters will tell you in a minute, hence the reason why they're here with me, and I say, look, this is how the world is for you because you are like this, you come from a Jamaican heritage, etc., etc. I tell them the real truth. You need to behave like this. You need to conduct yourself this way. Some of them, but why? Why can't I do what they do? You can't do what they do because the outcome is going to be different.
Yeah.
And this is just plain and simple as that. But what we have now is that we've got lots of young people in society who believe they can do what they want.
Yeah.
And why should anybody tell me? And also when the outcome of their behaviour is not the way that they expected it, they're shocked.
Yeah.
They're very shocked, and then they blame it on the system, especially like the black guys. There's small things, because indiscipline, people think that indiscipline is something that may only begin when you get to a certain age. No, it doesn't. It's ingrained in you from when you're a child, right? Because one of my nicknames when I was a child was Professor. And if you know me, as some of you do, then you know why I had that nickname, because you know the kind of person that I am. I'm very straightforward and accurate, don't much up my table. Right? You see? And so I am one of those who will be a stickler for what's right and wrong, and I draw a line. It's this and it's that, and that's how it is. But then now those who love indiscipline, they didn't just start yesterday. They learned that from a long time ago.
Yeah.
And that's been their lifestyle. Then suddenly now, you'll get them, they get into a job and they ask, can you do so and so? And they get all this kind of attitude and everything. And again, if there's nobody to challenge that, And suddenly now, they've gone from little Johnny, who mum said was great and he wasn't. He went to school and he wasn't great at school, but mum said he was. And so because mum said he was great, F the teachers, he don't care what they have to say. Now suddenly he's out in the world at 17 or whatever, and police have stopped him, and he can't be asked anything by the police because nobody tells me what to do, because my mum didn't tell me what to do. Your mum failed you.
Yeah.
And also did your absent father, if he was absent.
Yeah.
And like I said before, he may have been absent physically, or he may have just been absent emotionally, or both. But he also failed you. You know, and it's one of those things that has to be addressed. That we cannot just expect the best if we don't show them what the best is supposed to be. You know, I don't say that I have absolutely perfect speech in the way I speak, but you will hear, generally speaking, my children sound somewhat like me because I have continuously corrected their speech. And okay, that's only one point, but I'm saying that even in lifestyle and attitude, I continuously correct their speech. Including Angelica, who is a big woman and sometimes doesn't like it, I'm still doing it. And I will still do it. Because that's what I'm here for. And that's an understanding that too many fathers have not got. They think, oh well, I made the child, just go on it, get on with it. Get on with what and how? What's your role? You know, and then in other words, well, the government should have done this and the government should have done that. What about you? What have you done to make your child and your family better? See, that we're asking both the mothers and the fathers that. Because it's even like when people jump up and down, I don't want this kind of education in school for my child. I don't want them to teach them about this and I don't want them to teach them about that. And they should be teaching them A, B, C, and D, and F. I teach my children what I want them to know. And anything that the school has taught them that I think is wrong, I override it with more and better knowledge and better information. They are here, they can tell you if it's true or not. You see?
Anytime.
What's Freddie saying?
Something about his dad. Yeah.
So he says, I could never figure out how my late great dad came to England from Ghana in 1953. No kids. Then by 65, he has 6 black kids in White Basswood. So please help me. How was he able to walk with me to school? And every person would say, morning, Mr. Coffey. Fast forward, the late Mr. Coffey has 2 of his sons living in Australia. 1 in London, 3 of us in Nottingham, was the boss of 17 grandchildren. In a word, you could not mess with my dad. Well, that's it. That's it. Discipline. That's it. That's it, Freddie. Discipline. And it's the thing that seems to be lacking, you know, the most. I have spoken to young guys on the street, and contrary to what people usually think, they're just, you know, yeah, it's black guys in the gangs. No, everybody's in those gangs. White, black, Asian, the lot. When you talk to some of these guys on the street, they have no clue even how to speak to you.
Yeah.
It's not even so much that they are just deliberately obtrusive and obstructive in their speech and their behavior. They actually don't know. They actually do not know how to conduct themselves. Maybe, if you like, in respect of somebody who's older than them and more mature than them, they're like, well, so what? A man is a man. And they don't understand the differences, the nuances of how you behave in one environment or another. And I believe that these are the things that are missing. That's why I put it down the way that I did. Enabling mothers versus absent fathers. And okay, those are maybe emotive terms. But that's the whole point of why we're doing it, because enabling mothers can also enable in a very negative way, as in ignoring their children, allowing them to do what they want, or they can also enable from a very, what they would classify as a positive point, they spoil them.
Yeah.
So little Johnny can't do any wrong. Everything that little Johnny wants, he gets.
Yeah.
Mum, I need new trainers because everybody else at school has got them. I want Nike, I want this, I want that, and Mummy gets them. So he doesn't understand that sometimes there should be a no. Mummy, I don't want to go to bed. No, okay.
Stay up.
So, you know, and these things, They start from a young age, and if there's no break in it, it just continues, and they continue and they continue. They become teenagers, and they push the boundaries even further, and it continues. And then because now maybe there hasn't been that male figure, the absent father, or the father who sat there watching the telly, if he's there. Yeah, ask your mum. Whatever your mum said.
Yeah.
And then he's back into his newspaper or back into his football or whatever he's doing. Or he's, I'm going out in a minute, and he's gone. And it's that kind of thing. They're left to be raised alone by their mother, and the father is not putting in the input, the type of discipline and order that he should. Now, for those who are very much into this, equal opportunity business, they're going to tell you some other story about, male discipline versus female discipline. It's all the same, but it isn't the same. And I will challenge anybody that it is not the same.
But that's why it can work.
The atmospheres are different.
When it's not the father, that's why it
Good talk.
It's
not the same.
The discipline. That's why male and female discipline are not the same. I know everybody wants to always talk about, oh yeah, we're equal. Yes, we are equal, but we are not the same.
Well, if it was the same, then why do you have to threaten? Well, I'm gonna tell you that.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Too many mums. I'm calling your dad. Yeah, don't let me have to call your dad. Why is it always you calling the dad? Why, how come you're not calling the
if your discipline was the same?
Yeah,
it was the same.
The discipline is the same. You can give it, can't you? Yeah, and even if you choose not to be the disciplining parent, how come you're not calling his auntie or his grandma? How come you're calling his dad? And often,
I had one auntie who was like a man, so that one, if they told you they were calling her, you're in trouble. She was like a man.
And oftentimes you see, like when people don't have the dad, then they'll have someone else, male again,
uncle or grandfather.
Yeah. I'm calling you. I'm telling
somebody.
your uncle. I'm telling. You know what I mean? It's always like that.
Oh, you mispronounced the
Base
place.
Okay.
Yeah, every time I think.
Okay, Baseford. Yeah, I wasn't sure.
Yeah, I'm telling you now. I don't really care. I'm not trying to be feminism is rubbish, but feminism is rubbish to a certain extent.
Oh dear.
To a certain
I didn't say it. She did.
To a certain extent, because what I mean is that, of course, when you go to those, like for instance, people always like to reference these Arab countries where women don't have a lot of freedom, etc. Yes, that's fine. That's correct. That is wrong. Those women are oppressed, and it's not right, because that's foolishness. Oh, they can't drive, they can't go to the shop, and all these kind of things. Yeah, that's fair enough. But here in England, 2020. What's going on? I'm not understanding. Where is it that women are seen less than men? It's very, very rare.
Very rare.
Because even nowadays, when it does happen, when somebody, let's say you go and try to get a job and somebody is sexist or whatever, you can appeal against that. You can go to the little HR. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And they'll have an issue.
Yeah, you can go to little human resources and they will have an issue, literally. And you can get compensation and all these types of things. Yeah. So what does that show you? That shows you it's no longer happening. Let it go, people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let it go. I'm sorry. I just had to get that out.
No, it's fine. I think, like I said, we pick some things to talk about that some people will come and think, oh, why are you talking about? But, if it does nothing more than make people think twice.
Yeah.
About, and you're moving further and further out of the screen. Your chair is going that way. If we pick subjects that are just things that people want to hear from their own perspective and not challenge their thinking, well then that's where we have an issue. And here's the thing, that in all that we're saying so far, the issue really boils down to this. I'll give you an example of something that, because this is why I say that it isn't only about colour. There's some things that we do have to say where colour is concerned because we have a different outcome because of our colour. But when I was working as a prison officer, there was a young prisoner, a white prisoner, and a very extremely obnoxious guy. Horrible, horrible, horrible guy. Petty offender who committed multiple crimes. So when you know the petty offender committed multiple crimes, that means he's not stopping.
Yeah.
Right? So he's doing one thing after another, in and out of prison for years, juvenile, the lot.
Some people enjoy it, isn't it?
So now he was in an adult male prison, and he got into an argument with another prisoner, and basically he was stabbed, and his heart stopped. So when his heart stopped, another officer found him. Well, basically saw him sort of immediately because we were observing. So he went over and he managed to resuscitate him. He was taken to hospital on guard. And while he was in the hospital, after, they sort of patched him up to an extent and so forth, we thought that he would have now been sort of grateful for what had happened to him, and we were hoping, let's say, as officers, we were saying we were hoping that he'd have a little bit of a change of attitude. We've never really seen him in his interactions with his mother as such. So now, when his mother came to visit, he spoke to her like he was speaking to chewing gum on the bottom of his shoes. And I'm saying chewing gum because I don't want to put another word there, all right? So, I've got something that you step it, so I use chewing gum. But it's, not chewing gum, I mean. So this boy was talking to his mother like, and we looked at him thinking, you almost, you were dead even. Never mind almost, but your heart stopped. You were dead. And again, you've gone on and you've carried on talking to him. Why did you come to visit me? Because when she came, something he wanted that she didn't bring. And he carried on like an absolute savage. And God bless the officer who resuscitated him. He saw him and he said, I wish that I had left him to die. Because he said he is one of the most obnoxious people he'd ever met in his life. And the way how he was treating and behaving with his mother. And now you see the problem is that we will now do that. I didn't agree with the guy that I wouldn't have left him to die, but I understand his sentiment. He's pointing the finger because he's saying, look at you, you're behaving like a savage. Look at how you're dealing with your mother with no manners, no respect, no gratitude, you don't even have gratitude for life.
Yeah.
But my question, which we will answer between us here, but you, whoever will watch this, think and answer it also. Who caused it? You see, who caused it? And as far as I'm concerned, I'll give you my version and my answer. His mother caused it.
Yeah.
You see?
Yeah.
But then now that it's gone to that level and that extent, she's amazed because she didn't expect it to be like that. You see? But she's enabled that behavior for so long that he's used to behaving like that.
Yeah.
Now, I watched a video the other day. This was a recent incident in the USA, and I was shocked. First at what I watched, but more so disgusted by the response of a mother. There was a pregnant lady, and by the way, just let's put it out there plain, these were all black people, by the way. Pregnant black woman with her small child. The child looked like he was about 3 years old. She was arguing with two buff black ladies, and they began hitting the pregnant woman, and she was heavily pregnant. So these two black ladies began hitting this pregnant woman, and the little 3-year-old child was kind of, running around disorientated next to the mother. So of course the pregnant lady was trying to fight back to get them away from her, and at the same time trying to protect her small child and her pregnant belly. So she had like 3 different things going on at the same time. So along comes this, God, I wish I could call him what I want to, but I'm a Christian man, so praise the Lord. So along comes this chichi man, right? And he comes flying with a flying kick
Into the fight.
and kicked the 3-year-old or whatever side, the little child, in her head back.
What?
And then jumps over her and then kicks down the woman, the pregnant woman. So he kicked down the pregnant woman, and then now all 3 of them, the 2 ladies plus the man, Chichi man, are now beating on this pregnant woman. So anyway, eventually, they stopped and they went off and blah blah blah. So now the young man's mother saw the video because it had gone viral on Facebook and wherever else it was. So the young man's mother decided to comment because this is one of those enabling mothers. My little Johnny is perfect, and he's
Even with the video evidence.
So she said, no, the video evidence is not like that. He was trying to jump. So Ian, all on the man, he was trying to jump over the child to get to the pregnant woman.
No.
Like, all on that, even if that's true, it doesn't make it better. Come on.
Where's the justification?
So according to her, he never meant to kick the child in the back of her head. Right? He was jumping over the child to get to the pregnant woman so he could kick her down.
And that makes it better.
Right? My son is not like that, she said.
Well,
As in he doesn't hit children.
Oh, but
That's
he
what she
is.
but
said.
he hits women.
But he hits a pregnant woman instead.
He was, can't even defend herself.
Right? And this is what the mother was saying, and she's telling people, and it is the joke of it. She's telling people, you better shut your mouths,
I knew it.
right? And don't talk about my son like that. And some of you, I know you, and his dad is coming out next week.
Coming out from where?
From jail, isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
Right?
So that one with the
His
last
dad
one,
is coming out next week.
enabling mum absent
You
dad.
See?
Yeah.
And this is just an example of what we're talking about. An enabling mother and an absent father.
Yeah.
And that's why he felt justified.
And that's why that chichi man felt justified to come and kick the small kid in the back of her head, kick down the woman, and even slam her head into the doorpost and all these kind of things. You see? And the mother is on his side, chatting rubbish about, he didn't do anything wrong and this and that.
But he did.
And,
Yeah.
and last week we spoke about a young man who lost his life a couple of years ago. And I said the same kind of thing. You see, this young man was part of a gang. He previously, a couple of weeks before, had tried to chop up someone and he didn't quite come off the way that he wanted. Thank God that he didn't, because he'd have chopped up that person and they would be dead too. So as retaliation, they now came to him. Now here's the interesting thing. He wasn't even living in the area per se. He was living somewhere else out of the area, right? But because he now had beef with these people and he knew what he had done, he thought coming back into the ends, into the hood, then let's call it. I'm trying not to use any terms so anybody who knows won't know where I mean. So he decided to come back into the hood and he went back to his mum's yard and his mum allowed him back home, knowing that he is a drug dealer and a potential murderer. And why I say potential is because the gang that he was in, that's what they do. And I'm not going to say more than that. He had attempted to murder somebody anyway, and that one that we know of didn't work, but there may be others. And his mum knows, because even in the police report, they classified him as a relentless drug dealer. And the mother allows him to come and stay in her house because he felt now, I'm in the hood where my crew is, so I'm protected because, you know, one phone call or one shout and my crew will come and I'm safe. The problem with this is twofold. What really boils down to one thing. An enabling mother allowed her son and enabled him to the point where he died. Because now she should have said to him,
Yeah, you're not staying.
you're not staying here, right? You've come here because you've decided this is your ends and your crew are all around you, you know, to the tune of 50, 60, 70 guys. No. And she thought, oh, it doesn't matter, you know, he'll just be there, she can't talk to him or tell him anything. And they came directly to his mother's house and knocked on the door and asked for him and executed him on his mother's doorstep. And then she goes and talks rubbish in the funeral, how she doesn't know why her son died. You know, because you know who he was and what he was. And he got to that level because you kept your mouth closed. Now, some of these mothers say, oh, I've been telling him and he won't listen. Oh, but not because you told him too late. You told him when he was already a big man.
Yeah.
If you'd have been telling him when he was of a size and an age where he had to listen, it may not have got like that. Now, for all of those parents who do not believe in spanking their children and so forth and so on, that is your business, and you find your way to do what you need to do. But some of these young men who turned out into what they did, they needed to get some licks in their skin. I'm gonna take what we got. And for those English people who don't understand what I said, I'm sorry. But no, it's like that. I couldn't tell him, I can't tell him. So now the guy has lost his life. You see, and I know the guy's father as well. And yes, the father and the mother are not together. They had the child together and the man is different. But now you see, this is the thing, because that father was absent out of that young man's life, not by choice, but by being shut out by the mother. And this is also the other side of the coin that we have.
Yeah.
You know, where the mothers are shutting out the fathers. So they're not necessarily absent by choice, but they are absent because they have to be absent. Mother has shut that man out of his son's life. So the son, your dad is rubbish. Your dad is not this. Your dad didn't do that. And he's got that in his head. Me, I'm going to be a big man. I'm going to be different. But you're going to be different by what virtue and by what level of discipline. Because you're only hearing what your mum is saying and you're not listening anyway.
Yeah.
And as far as you're concerned, no man can tell you what to do. Because if your father can't tell you what to do, then you're not going to listen to any other man. You see, and this is the issue that brings then an identity crisis, because there is no discipline that has been instilled in that person from childhood until teenage, until adulthood, and then now it becomes too difficult, and now you find out that they're coming into the world where discipline is necessary and they don't want it, and they refuse it, and they push against it, and then you have these mothers saying, I don't understand, I don't know, you know, and I'm not knocking the mothers, because it isn't just only down to the mothers.
Yeah.
You've got some of the fathers as well who have decided, this is too difficult. So she's a difficult woman. Mother and I have got beef, so leave the kid there, let him stay. Let her stay there with her child. But why are you saying let her stay there with her child when it's also your child?
Exactly.
It is also your child, and you're busy telling them, stay there with your child. You see, and you know, she's too difficult, and I can't. Listen, when you were busy making little Johnny, she wasn't too difficult then. You understand? She wasn't difficult by then. But now all of a sudden, she's difficult, and she's this, and she's that. So let her stay there with her child. Go and raise your son by yourself.
Think about the child.
Yeah,
about
see?
the woman.
That's the mentality.
The
See?
same the
Lack
other
of
way around.
maturity.
Forget about the man, think about the child. And it's true, that's what it is. it is about the maturity. You're right, Angelica, because people don't take. I think people take nowadays because people are having kids left, right, and center, all kinds of ways, all kinds of styles. The importance of having a child, or the importance and the actual value of having
The value
a child,
and the joy.
the value and the joy,
The family, the family
identity.
identity.
The family identity, the family unit.
They've took
It's
it
not
away.
there anymore. It's been destroyed because that's why then it's, oh yeah, I'm not with the dad, you know,
So that's it.
and that's
Yeah.
it. He's not around.
And
Well,
that's
why
it,
is he
like
not
it's
around?
normal.
Oh, because I don't want him to be. Well, that's foolishness.
Of course
Mhm.
it
Get
is.
over yourself and let the man see his child, and vice versa. Get over yourself and go and see your child.
And do what you need to do.
Do what you need to do.
Male or female.
Male or female, it don't matter which side. I'm talking about both sides.
Yes.
Need to grow up,
And mine all
and grow up and mind your children. Do what you're supposed to do because you have been given a responsibility, and everybody knows that. That's why people say, "Oh no, I can't have no child now. It's too much responsibility."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So why do people say that? If then when they have a child, they still continue to not take any responsibility for that child. Why are you having a child? And then these same people who ain't even heard.
It was a mistake.
Yeah, oh, it was a mistake. Nah, I don't want to hear them things.
There's no such
I don't even want to hear them. Oh, it was a mistake. In this day and age, there ain't no child mistake unless you're a Christian and don't believe in certain aspects of Planned Parenthood, etc. There ain't no mistake. Yeah, and that's that.
And even that one is not a mistake
No,
because
because you knew
because
what
you
was
knew what you
happening.
was doing.
before you planned climbing wherever you climbed with she or he,
You knew what was going on.
That's
you knew
it.
what was going to happen.
You're aware of the possible outcome.
Yeah,
So-
exactly. So even that one is not really a mistake. It's just if it happens, it happens. That's the difference. And people are too quick nowadays to I can't find no husband. Instead of me to look at myself, let me just go and get a sperm donor and have a child.
Mhm.
And then I'll start to put them same bad values and
Into the poor
opinions
child.
onto that poor child. So then again, it becomes then what happens to that daughter? Then she can't, unless she changes herself, she won't be able to find no man either because of the way that she's been raised by her mum, who's got some sort of issue
with men and whatever.
and whatever else. Yeah, and vice versa with the same with the men. They may come from a household where their dad weren't there, and I'm all right, so I don't need to be there. But he's got his mum, or she's got her mum. That's good enough. I don't need to be there all the time. My dad weren't, and I'm all right. And that's what they really think. Like, oh, my dad weren't there. I'm all right. And I'm not saying
There's
that.
people like that who didn't have their dad there who are now doing that to their own child.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Then what? What about that? People that didn't have their own dad, and then still again, you're gone. You're not even around for your child.
Mhm.
But you don't think that it's detrimental to your child's development. Well, how will you? People need to start thinking about their childhood more and how they felt as a child. Yeah, because emotions are important when you're a child. And the way that
feel good. Why would you repeat it?
why
for
would
your
you
own?
repeat it for your own child if that did not feel good for you? Because I'm sure there was many a time where people even do it still till now. Oh nah, you know what I mean? I can't be asked. I just leave her with the mum or whatever. I just leave him with the mum. That's it. Or even the mums. You get the mums who are on the same fleck. Oh, I just leave them with the nan because you know what I mean? I can't be bothered. I just leave them with the aunties or the mum and all these things. But
then those are still enabling mothers.
yeah, they are
Because-
still enabling mothers because
Yeah, you want to
instead
spend
of-
time with your grandchild, but you need to tell your child to take their child.
yeah. So
Absolutely.
it becomes
The
like a
cycle is there.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's exactly the point I'm proving.
Raise your pitney yourself.
The cycle continues, and this is what I'm meaning. Because you get this enabling mum who's never takes any type of responsibility for their child. She just lets her or him do whatever the heck they want. So then when they then grow up, they then do whatever they want. They don't feel, oh well, I don't have to do that because my mum never told me I had to. My mum never told me I had to, so that's it. I ain't doing it. And that's why they get these crusty little women that will be dropping off their kids to the mums every week, and because the mum is still enabling their bad behavior, the mum accepts that grandchild, and because obviously, you know, everybody loves their grandchild a lot, so they're always going to be, oh yeah, come on, let them, bring them. They're not going to be like, no, unless they're a bad person themselves, they don't say no. And that's the truth, isn't it? Every grandparent knows that themselves. Even I'm sure whoever's watching, you know that yourself. A child says they're bringing their child, or can their child stay? You always say yes. And this is the problem. And then from then you then get the mums that will then, oh yeah, I'm off, bye mum. Leave their child there all week long,
Partying,
clubbing,
whatever.
whatever they want to do.
Or making the next one.
Yeah, exactly. Or them coming with the next one.
To bring that child.
To then bring that child back again as well. This is the thing. Or once again, you then get the dads that do that, who will take their child. Oh yeah, I'll come pick them up this weekend.
Can't stand that.
Take the child from the
And
mum
drop it off
and
at
take
their
it
mum.
to their mum. At their
Yeah.
mums.
What
Yeah.
is that about?
Drop it off to their mums.
Just
And
leave
their
them
mum
at home then
once
if you
again.
don't.
Their mum once again, like a little enabler,
Mm.
lets the child come. Yeah, I'll just have them. Yeah, or they even, maybe they've got a girlfriend and then they just leave them with the girlfriend. Yeah, my child has to come round every weekend. It's part of the agreement, but I've got to go out, so you know, you just look after them. But that's not good enough, because a child needs both. We must be careful not to perpetuate Frankenstein culture, where you try to make a person that you think will do as you say, but before you know, Frankenstein has turned on his maker. Why? Because Frankenstein soon realizes that he is born without rules. John, do your kids know about Frankenstein? Yes,
Yes, they know.
And that's actually correct. It's true. Anybody that is raised with no rules, no discipline,
No regulation.
they know. Yeah, no regulation. When they get older, because people have to realize children are actually a lot smarter than people understand. They understand the world on a different type of level than we do. Yeah, we actually become desensitized to things and don't understand. Yeah, that's the truth. That's the reality. Children understand more than we do. So when your child is, let's say, one day you've given them carrots for dinner, they've eaten them, then the next day they don't feel like no carrots again. So then it's, I don't like carrots. Yeah, and instead of telling them to eat them carrots and to get on with their dinner because that's all they're having, yeah, and until they eat it, or there's going to be problems. Like? Yeah, then it becomes, just try it. Oh, come on, please. Why are you even bartering with them?
If
when
they ate it yesterday, they can yam it again.
And this is what I'm talking about. Or then it becomes, all right, I'll make you a different dinner. Nah. Did I ever?
Boy, I'm laughing.
There weren't no next dinners for us.
Next dinners. Yeah, and I'm still here, still alive.
What used to reach the table every time you chatted any of that rubbish?
More of what you didn't like.
Exactly.
Exactly, and that's the point. We didn't have a choice, right?
There's no discussion about veg or what or what.
No, there's not.
Whatever I've made, that's what you're eating because
Yeah.
I know you can't die from it.
Exactly, and that's as simple as that. Yeah, when people say, but what if they actually don't like it? That is not the same thing, and that's what you're not getting. That ain't the same thing. What if they actually don't? That is not the same thing.
That's not the same thing. If they ate it yesterday, then what do you mean? What if they don't like?
But this is what people do, because that's why I was watching this one. You know what, right? If people want to see a good example of when it shows either absent fathers and enabling mothers, go and watch Super Nanny USA.
Oh my.
Yes. Yeah. That is perfect examples for what we're talking about.
Perfect. And even the white swaps are good for that.
Yeah, the white swaps are good as well. Trust me.
Freddie.
What is Freddie?
What now?
Let's see. I taught at an inner-city school.
Inner city
school. Pure Frankenstein in my class. they put them with me because they knew the kids would get a shock when I let them go late to lunch for chatting. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there was, you knew at school they had it planned out, but you know that's why they put certain
Of course,
people
that's why they put them in certain classes.
because they knew, yeah, this teacher's the one that can have them under management.
Mhm.
This, if they're in that
Absolutely.
class, there's no chance, and that's the truth.
But listen, let me just chime in and say something about the enabling issue, because you know we've talked about enabling mothers, absent fathers, and maybe some people may feel offended as if well we're bashing at them. Well, as a father, first of all, let me just big up myself, because these are my two daughters and they are right here. So those of you who would like to know anything about how not to be an absent father, check me. It's as simple as that. They are both adults and they are here. So I can tell you that I've done something the way it should have been done. Check me and we can talk about that. But it's beyond that what I want to say. I'm just putting that in there anyway. But the fact is this, that society in general is part of the problem, because what they want to do, as you quite know, social services are very interested in your business.
Yeah.
So social services will look over your shoulder and maybe they'll look at that so-called broken family or family with issues, and they'll say, listen, this family has issues, so what we are going to do now, we are going to remove that child from that family, either on a temporary basis or for a long-term basis, or we're going to monitor that family on a close level. And then what they say is that now you are now no longer parenting your child by yourself, but now social services are also parenting your child with you or parenting your child on your behalf. But what we have to understand about that scenario is that it becomes worse. I have worked in that environment with children and young people where now the so-called system has taken over and the enabling gets worse rather than better. This is what we need to know. And we've got to tell this right up front so that people understand. Don't fall into that trap. The enabling gets worse.
Yeah.
And then when you look at the behaviors now of these people, you think, my God. And then you see the social workers and the social service, no, leave them. Oh, they've struggled, they've had a hard time, blah, blah, blah. They have all these stories and excuses and reasoning.
Yeah. Justification.
I did some training with the social workers, and they put forward a scenario which I found very interesting, because in the room, it was a room full of mostly white British people, but there was me as a Jamaican heritage. There was a African man, and then there's my wife as an African also, and the man's wife. The African man's wife was I think sort of like an Iranian or something like that. So the scenario that they put forward, they did it as a role play. The mother was talking on the phone. The child came in with some news that she wanted to share. Something that happened at school and this and that, and she wanted to explain and talk to the mother. So she just, in the scenario, she started butting into the conversation. While the mother was already on the phone, she's pulling and dragging at her and starts talking over. And talking loud over the top, trying to get in. So now, in the scenario, the way they showed it, the mother now says to the person on, oh, just give me a minute. To the person on the phone, turns to the child, says, oh, what's wrong? Blah, 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 blah.
Nah.
Well, I know.
That's why I was shaking my head.
And the child starts, la 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 la, and she says, oh, okay.
And she's still holding.
She's like, oh, finish, just, okay, yeah, got that. Finish the rest of it in a minute, just a minute. And she's back to the person on the phone. The child is still there. dancing around waiting to for her to hurry up, get off the
Say the
phone
rest of it.
so she can say the rest of it. So when they finished their scenario, they asked people in the room, what do they think? The other African guy said, what are you talking about? She must wait.
Yeah, exactly.
I nearly fell off my chair because he said it faster than even I did.
Yeah.
And I said, because I had said to my wife that I'm just going to keep quiet. I'm not going to say anything.
Let's see what people.
The African guy said, he said, she must wait. What kind of rudeness is that?
Yeah.
Rubbish.
And that's why I was shaking my head because it's correct.
The wife of the man, she was shaking her head as well as if to say, nah.
Yeah, this ain't it.
The English people now came with 19 different stories. How they should, because
And this is
you have to remember if she's been through this and because she's like that and blah, blah, blah. I said, listen, I don't care what she went through. I don't care what was going on at school. I don't care what the issue is. She doesn't have any manners. She should keep quiet and wait.
Yeah.
And if she can't wait, she will be disciplined.
Yes.
All right? I didn't say she would get a beating or some
Yeah,
box or anything.
discipline.
I said she must be disciplined.
Yeah.
Because who does she think she is to come in, overpower
Already.
your
Yeah.
adult conversation
Exactly.
and as if to tell you get off the phone?
Yeah.
Because I need to talk.
I need to talk, so get off the phone.
You know,
That's how they want you to bring them down.
And this is
That's
what they
encourage
want. Because then you see, we've got to understand that there's something deep behind all of this.
Yeah.
That if we're not careful and we keep overlooking it, they want them to have no discipline. They want children and young people to grow up into adults with no discipline, no foundation.
Yeah.
So that they can be
All
tossed
about
and turned.
themselves.
You see, you've got to understand that it's because they later will manipulate. And it will be because we say, oh no, it's freedom. They're going to give, no, they're not going to give you freedom. The system does not want to give people freedom. It wants to manipulate them into a false sense of security and freedom.
Yeah.
So that they can then manipulate you the way that they want to.
Yeah. It's as
You
simple
see?
as that.
That's what it's all about.
Yep.
So now when you think, oh, let them have a bit of freedom to argue with you and then they, no. My child, when they're a child, they can't argue with me. There's no discussion, there's no argument. It's like that. And if it's bad for them, ask these two because they're here. But when they're a child, because they're not children now, when they're a child, don't argue with me, keep quiet. There's no in between.
But the thing is, you see the difference in children now, anyway. Because you see those other children, and you see that their mum or their parent or whatever in their household, they've not been told that when something is said by the parent, that is it. It's final, and there's no more discussion. These are, but I wanted to do this and that, and I wanted to have this for dinner, not crusty this,
Yeah.
And this is real how these children will speak. Their mum will say, this is what's for dinner. What?
I don't want it.
I don't want that for dinner. Oh, well, too bad that's for dinner. No, I'm not eating. And all these types of flinging their plate on the floor. Oh, that's what I was saying. Super Nanny is the perfect example for people to see.
She's full of rubbish.
Yeah. Who's Super Nanny? Yeah. Well, it's because she doesn't believe in any type of
doesn't do any kind of discipline.
Yeah. But she
discipline
does.
is
But
not
she
tight
does.
enough.
Yeah, she does do discipline, but it needs to be taken to a next level.
But I
She's
just
like
think
the foundations of discipline.
the people that she goes to, it's like everything she's telling them is like common sense things.
Yeah, but these
I don't
people don't
understand
know.
why they don't know.
Because
these
they
things.
might
Because
already
they don't operate on
themselves.
common sense.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
really-
Well,
they
that's
don't.
another thing that we've found. We've seen this everywhere. People
I
actually
always used to watch it and
lack
think, why did they
common
need that woman to
sense.
come in their yard and tell them that?
Exactly. And the thing is, as well, I remember some of the people will even be saying to her, because first day she comes in, she just observes. Yeah, and people will even be saying to her while she's observed, oh, I'm trying to do your technique, and they're bringing some little crafty child to some naughty step or something. But because they're not doing it in the right way, they're not even speaking to their child in the correct way, right? Freddie has said, what is the difference between myself, yourself, and a thief or a murderer? The thief or murderer is just a person who was not told no until they had 7 or 8. Yeah.
Oh yeah. In a lot of cases, that's it.
That's exactly it.
You must be
And
joking.
this
That's
is the
really
point.
true.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it is true.
And these children, and you see it, because even I was watching one, and the child, right, you know what, let me just read this first before I get into that next thing. Children of these days have no clue. That's why they suffer when they go out into the society.
Yeah.
And everything is a problem, even
Yeah,
being
it's
polite. Yeah, it's correct, because that's why you get people, you're going on a bus or something and then they're shoving you to the side. Who are you to shove me to the side? Yeah, but why? Maybe because their mum was doing that, so they've learned that then on top of it. Or when they were younger, even maybe they were always, because they were a child, they always would push to the front of the line, and people, because people are people, they just
allow
let it,
them.
yeah. And then the mum is not telling them
These
no.
people are
don't do that.
enabling bad behavior.
Yes. And
Let me give you an example.
Go on.
I went to a friend's house. These are black people, right? So, and I'm emphasizing the black for one reason only. For those of you who are like, oh, why are you saying that? Because black people have a different style of discipline, especially Jamaicans anyway. We have a different style of discipline than white people. So that's why I'm telling you these were black people. So when I tell you what happened, black people will be shocked. They'll be like, "Ah."
It's one of them ones.
I went to my friend's yard and her child is small, picnic, little. So she had gone to do something elsewhere in the house. So me and the youth are in the room, you know, in the sitting room, and the TV is on. But it was plugged from the laptop, so it wasn't showing a full screen. So he's watching it like that, and it's not on a full screen. So I went to the laptop to change the sizing so that it would come full screen on the TV. So when I went to the laptop, my man gets up from his seat. This little small peanut of a child gets up from his seat and pushes me because I'm in his way now and he can't see what he was watching. There's no excuse me. And he talks. It's not that he doesn't speak. He doesn't have any speech impediment or any of that kind of thing. There was no "what are you doing," which he can ask because he does what he wants to. He just decided I must come out of his way, and he's a big man. He can do what he wants. So when he pushed me, I looked down at him and I thought, hey.
It's a shock, isn't it?
And because I'm a big man and I'm from the description that I am, I just clap him. And my man flew back to his chair and sat down like a bullet.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, good. Now you know who is a big man and who isn't, isn't it? He's not saying anything and he's silent. He's very straight. I said, yeah, good.
Yeah.
And I still did what I went there to do, fix the screen and whatever, and then sat back down.
Yeah.
And now I kept that and I didn't say anything. I saved it for weeks. And then I said to my friend one day, I said, I'm going to tell you something. And she's like, oh, because she already kind of knows me. Anyway, I said, that little man of yours that you've got, I said, you need to teach him some money. I said, because he thinks that he's already a man. I said, and later, if he doesn't learn, that's going to get him into a problem.
Yeah.
She said, why? What happened? So I told her the scenario and what happened. And she's like, ah. She was shocked. I said, it's because you and his granny, because there's no male figure around, he thinks he's the man.
Yeah.
At his little small peanut size, he thinks he can, because when he commands them, I don't want this, I want that.
They're listening.
They're listening. You see? And they're doing it according to his request and his style.
Yeah.
I want, I don't
So
want.
there's no please, no thank
Pushing
you.
out of the way, you know, he's
my
one of those who doesn't
Oh,
just
you see those kind of
things,
children.
right?
Woo. Yeah. Woo! That's all I'm gonna say.
And you know, I say no. But I told her, I said, if he would, for me, he would be very, very isolated because he'd be in his room till he's bored.
Yeah.
Because he loves watching TV and watching what he wants
Yeah, so that's how
on
you
the
get him.
laptop and the
Yeah,
this
so
and the
that's
that.
what
I
you
said, he
remember.
wants,
Them ones he's watched.
no manners. He won't be.
Yeah, straight.
These guys, they know when they used to be here and it's time to eat. And I'm saying, are you eating or are you watching the TV? Out of my mouth, that will come only one time. When I look again and everybody's in the TV, they just hear, boom!
And then everyone's all like,
And that's it. Finished. No more discussion.
All the time until you had to learn. All right, I need to eat while I'm watching or because you just be like
Alexis is still in that stage.
Yeah, she is.
She's still in that stage. She's got the fork here and she's
watching
in the screen.
You know how many times I have to say, in it, eat your food. Stop watching the TV.
Yeah.
And I've said it many times, even to my nephews.
I even positioned
and
the
my
table
nieces, yeah,
so that her
she
chair
can't
is
see.
so
like
she can't
backwards
see. Yeah,
from
but
the
she does
no,
twist
she's
her neck. She does twist her
She'll
neck.
swivel her head.
But then that we used to do that as well because even Dad, remember, Dad changed where we sit, right? So that we also couldn't see. But same thing, we would just be there, like that, breaking our neck until he would be there. Yeah, and he used to be like, because the thing is when you're
You're
in
so
it that hard,
inside
you
the
didn't even
screen.
hear him give you the warning. You know what I mean? He's already given the warning that
No,
if you
nobody
don't
heard
stop,
the
I'm
warning.
telling, no one's listening. Everyone's just until suddenly the screen is black, and then it's just now I've just got to.
Now you gotta listen to everybody eating.
Yeah, everybody that eating their food. Yeah, but these things are important.
Yeah, and so because obviously we don't want to go on forever. But,
Oh yeah.
no, we're cool for time in a way, but we're
Yeah.
not gonna stay too long.
Yeah.
My question, which I'm giving to you two to talk as well, because I'm
You're
duck-
talking about Alexa.
I'm ducking out for 2 seconds anyway. The question, then, if you like, we said about enabling mothers and absent fathers, which we know the reality of that. So the question then is, how does that then bring an identity crisis? Because it does, for sure.
Well,
The crisis is the children don't know who they are.
yeah, basically, I think when somebody is brought up in a way of they're not told what's right and what's wrong, they're not told about their own behavior as a person, they're not told how to behave or how to be, then they don't understand and they don't know what to do. So all they are relying on is their own feelings and emotions.
And how they feel
And
about
how
the
they
situation.
feel, how they feel about the situation. And that's why you get like that term that's used from Karen, talking about them scary white women that go out into society and behave like horrible, bratty children when they don't get their way.
Yeah.
So like one video I saw, a lady there, she was in the phone store and something was wrong with her phone and she was screaming her head off that they must fix it today, now. Yeah. And they said, we're closing. We can't fix it in the time. You need to go to the other shop, which is on the other side. And when I'm doing that, that's exactly what
She
was
really
doing.
thought that they was gonna adhere to
Yeah.
her request
Yeah,
by
and then
behaving
calling
like that.
them devils and all these things.
Yeah, and then the
chatting
guy
about,
was
"Oh,
like,
you're
well,
gonna-"
we're not serving you, so you might as well
Yeah, go
off
to the
the
other
next
shop. But no, this is wrong. Oh, you can't take away my rights and all this. But what rights is that? And this is exactly the point I'm talking about.
You can't
they've not
speak to
been
people
raised.
like that
Yeah.
and expect to get what you want. It doesn't work like that.
Exactly.
She
And
would have
this-
been getting jacked from
Of
me.
course. And this is what causes an identity crisis because that woman has been raised in a way where she believes that
that
identity and that behavior is correct and it's okay.
And
When
that's how to get what
It's
you
not
want.
okay and it ain't correct.
No.
But you know why? That's because when she was younger,
That's
you
how
know
she
she was running that yard.
Mm.
She would have been in there, I want this.
Yeah.
And the mum is just, all right, yeah, have it. Yeah,
So
sure.
when you
quiet.
become an adult and behave that way and don't get what you want, you don't understand why
then
it's
you're
not working.
confused and everything is, you know what I mean, the world is against you and you know, this is not right, this is not justice,
Yeah.
and all these kind of things. Oh, I'm gonna sue this company because of what
I would
they've
love
done,
to see her try.
and all them kind of things.
I would watch
Yeah, and people, you know what I mean, and that's only one side. That's only the Karen, the white women side.
Them Karens.
Yeah, them Karens, as they call them, the colloquial term or whatever for crazy white ladies. But when we're talking about other people, then like when we spoke about the gangs thing last week, this is what then also fuels that behavior. So then people are there going out on the road because they're not getting any discipline or told anything, or
Yeah.
maybe even any attention at home. So the only attention,
There's nothing or no one to follow.
nothing or no one to follow. So
Yeah.
whether they need
On the
somebody
road.
to follow, people, we as humans, right? We may be critical thinkers and theoretical thinkers and all these things, but we didn't just come like that, just boom. No, we learn from each other. We watch each other. We see what each other is, what we are doing. That's how we learn to be the people that we are. And if you ain't got no one to look at or no one to follow, you're gonna find someone, because that's the human nature.
Positive or negative.
Yeah,
you will find
positive
them.
or negative, you will find someone to follow. And if you go out into, you go out onto the road, say you live in an area where it's a bit, it's not poverty, but the money is less. People are living on less money, or maybe they don't own their houses, etc. And then you're not getting any type of guidance or discipline at home. You're then going to go out onto the road and you're going to find it there. Oh, where's the oldest who live in the area? Yeah, they're the ones that then, maybe even because they themselves, them elders, come from the same situation. So then they feel, oh, well, I'll take that child under my wing.
Show them how
I survived. Show them how I turned out all right. Because, everybody, let's be realistic. Most people think that they're all right, even when they're not. Oh, well, I'm all right. I turned out just fine, but really they didn't. Yeah. And that's just the truth. I'm being honest.
They just don't know it.
They just don't know it because they don't know any different. And that's the problem. And they'll take those small children, oh, come with me, or they'll come outside, oh, mum didn't make me no dinner tonight. Oh, that's all right, let me buy you chicken and chips. It's all right, come eat with me.
It's almost like a grooming they're doing.
It is like a grooming thing, isn't it? And then it becomes when they get a little bit older and they start to understand more about what's going on in the world. Oh yeah, come do a little something for me. Do this and that for me.
This bag.
Yeah, hold this bag for me, or go drop it to that yard over there, and all these types of little things. Yeah, and those children, because that person is who they follow and who they look up to, they will listen.
Yeah.
The same way when you raise your child in the right way to look up to you and follow you, they listen to what you tell them. And that's why these people then, because the person that they followed and mentored and all these, this was their role model, they're just going to go on that same path. I wasn't given a path, but this person has a path who I want to follow.
I've never understood those mothers that say, oh, but they won't listen to me.
I don't.
You make them listen.
To you. You never taught them to listen.
You
made them think listening
because you
have to teach them how to listen.
How to listen, and also you gave them other options.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I'm saying. You were giving them too much option and too much choice.
You made
them think listening is a choice.
Listening it's not a choice.
Is not part of the choice when it comes to childhood. Sorry, but that's the truth. Yeah. If an adult is telling you something, you have to listen. And why do I know that? Because I was taught it when I was a child. And that's the point I'm making.
Yeah.
And this is why, like I said, you get these horrible people who go out onto the road and do rude, nasty things to people. So when you get someone in a public place and then you're arguing because they've done some little rank thing to you, or they've pushed you out the way, or some little rude behavior, that can guarantee that person's mum or father or parent or whatever did not raise them correctly, did not give them the right discipline or the right manners and all those types of things. And that's why they think it's normal to go and do that to strangers on the road who they don't even know. They're walking past and they just, woof, get out of my way, and all these types. Lord help me.
If you was to push them down, then it's like you're the one.
Yeah, and that's the thing, because there's many times where this lady pushed past me and I said, the word is excuse me, then she's there, turning and looking at me. I said, yeah, I'm talking to you. The word is excuse me. I said, do you know that word? Then she's there, oh, who are you speaking to like that? I said, I'm talking to you. Do not barge past me again. And that's all I'm saying. And she's there looking at me every minute when we're at the bus stop. And I just thought, keep looking, love. Keep looking. I've said what I had to say. You know what I mean? I'm not going to come and attack you now or something. Yeah, but that's because, and I think she was shocked. Because why?
Because nobody
Because
ain't backed her up like that
was
yet.
discipline. Yeah, that was me basically giving her some discipline. Telling her, don't do that again or there will be consequences. So then that's why it was, you know, she's looking at me because she's shocked. Because guess what? Clearly no one never told her nothing in her life. And this is the problem. And people then go out into, and they don't know who they are. They don't know how to be, and they don't know how to react to certain situations as well.
And not want to be told nothing.
Yeah, they don't want to be told anything. And that's because they've been brought up and made to think that it's normal for nobody. If I don't know you, or you're not important to me, don't come and tell me nothing. Even if it's substantial to my life, I don't want to hear it.
Well, they've been
And
told they
people
don't
think
have to
that's
listen
normal.
to people they don't know. Isn't it?
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's the thing. That
Well,
is
they
exactly
find
it.
out because they're policemen who they don't know, they'll have to listen to.
Yeah, because when
There's
the
the judges who they don't know, they'll have to listen to.
exactly.
Yeah, because when your face is getting scraped up on the curb, yeah, I'm sure you'll be listening to them police officers whether you like it or not. And that's just the truth, mate.
Yeah.
Sorry, but it's the truth.
So, in conclusion, really, because I said, you know, we wouldn't make this one super long, but
Yeah.
we said
Yeah,
it's
it's
an
alright.
hour and a half anyway.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
all right.
We are saying
Mhm.
mothers and fathers need to look very carefully at how they deal with their household
Yeah.
and their families. I'm going to come with a bit more of this next week, not on exactly the same level, but you know, we can dig a lot deeper into this because probably the thing that I want to look at next, which we didn't really we touched on it a bit, I want to talk about the nature and nurture issue
Yeah, that's a good one.
because
Of course it will.
you know people have got very differing views about how that has any forbearance on how people behave, who's racist and who isn't. Is it
All those
inherent?
things.
Is it not inherent? And many other things. And you know, we next we're going to talk about that a bit,
I've already got things to say.
which in a way follows on from this conversation that we're having today
Yeah.
about the fact that you know, if there is an imbalance in the raising of that child, male or female, and that imbalance could be either, like we said, enabling mothers and absent fathers, and it is usually that way round because mothers usually have the role, or should have the role of more care
Yeah.
and attention, and the father usually or should have the role of more of the disciplinarian. So when those things are absent or out of order, the child also becomes out of order. And you know, it's actually quite simple as that. That because of the fact that those things have been that way when the parents are concerned, the child also becomes out of order. He or she then grows up with a different mindset, thinking, well, I survived, I got up, brought myself up, I got to this point. So when I even have my own children, we will behave the same way. Some people do learn,
Yeah, there are some.
so don't get me wrong and say that there are none who don't ever learn out of
There
it.
are. Yeah.
Some people do learn and they do break the cycle,
Yeah.
and that's the whole point, that what we're trying to do is get people to begin to think. You may not agree with everything we've said, and that's cool because we're not trying to even put this across from an expert point of view. Not that I am not an expert in anything, I am in some things, but that's not my point of this conversation. So we're not trying to tell you that we are giving you an expert point of view, but we're giving you a point of view that will make you begin to think. And even then, when you speak to other people, you'll think differently about what it is that you're saying, what it is that you are presenting, and what the after effects of that will be even in terms of your own children, and young people, how will they be? And the last example, because I love giving examples, I'm a good storyteller, and I think it helps. Interestingly, when we moved to this house many years ago, it's not the one that you guys are thinking of, actually. But there's some neighbours who are a couple of doors up from us, and by then they didn't have any children, and the woman by then was quite young, because I'm talking like 16 years ago. She was young, and they didn't have children yet. So they basically, in my opinion, they were rude. Let me just put it plain how I see it. They were rude.
Yeah.
So what used to happen, because basically there wasn't anybody to challenge them here before we, when I say we, I mean probably I was around. So they used to just behave how they want. They park their car anywhere where they feel like, and they just, So my man used to park his car even in front of my gate, so I couldn't get in my drive.
It's just common sense.
And I thought, why are you doing that? Your yard is there. Why are you not parking in front of your own yard?
I don't know why people do that. There was a big thing about it at my last
You know?
house.
And I'm wondering to myself,
She was a
first of all, you're parking in front of my house. You're parking in front of my gate, so I can't drive in, or if I've driven in, I can't drive out.
Yeah.
And you think it's okay. So the first time, I actually said, can you not park there? And I just left it like that. He's like, having his face all twist up, and, because again, this is all about attitude and mindset. That something has to break somewhere eventually.
Yeah.
I'm cutting a long story short, but So basically, what happened now? He can't hear because he's got indiscipline. And like I said, by then, this time, he and the wife, they don't have any children, so they're not thinking even along the lines of, what are they going to be doing when they have children, and what discipline will they show them, and behaviour and so forth. So I thought, okay, you want to behave like a child, and maybe I need to take a different approach. So when he parked his car there again, I got the biggest piece of paper that I knew would fill the whole of that passenger side window, or driver side window, I think it was. And I got that really gummy
the
tape, the brown one that you use,
For parcels.
So I pasted on the paper onto his window, and I put on there, "Do not park here again, or else." And I just left it there. So then they came and they were looking and looking. So I just came out straight away, because I'm not trying to pretend that it wasn't me. I came out, I said, yeah, I put that there. So he started racing up himself and shouting and carrying on. I said, none of that is going to make any difference. Don't park the car there again. You can't tell me what to do, blah, 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 blah. And now I've stopped talking. His wife now starts screaming and shouting. So I said to her, little girl, I am not talking to you, and gave her the hand and turned my back. She nearly died on the spot because she was still, and I just walked off, and I refused to talk to her at all. So I saw that didn't work, because they still put it back there again another time.
Because they thought they were bad.
Because they this is the behaviour that they had, and you see, they thought, oh, nobody's challenging. Because I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt that this is obviously what was in them from childhood. And they, nobody can challenge me, and I'll just do what I want. And
even after the picture on the piece of
They
paper, you're still coming there.
So I said, good, there's no problem. I rang the police. I gave them the registration of the car. I said, there's a stolen car parked outside my drive. It's been there for a while, and it's blocking my drive, which is not allowing me access, and I need it to be towed away. The police came back, and they came to tow the vehicle. They came flying out. It's our car, and they were already hooking it up to take it away. And I stood there watching and said, And I told the police, I said, yeah, I reported it as a stolen vehicle, so I don't know whose car it is. And it shouldn't,
Don't know why they're parked in
be
front of my
parked in
drive.
front of my drive,
Exactly.
etc.
No matter
So,
what's stolen.
lo and behold, obviously after that time, they didn't put the car there again. But that's only part one of my point. My point though is this, that at that point they felt, no, don't tell me what to do, blah, 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 and all of this kind of attitude that they've had for a while. What I've noticed since then, of course now they've had children, they've now got 4, but this is quite new. They are very, very different people.
Yeah, but
Especially the woman. The man, not so much. And this is why I'm trying to show you the difference between the fathers and the mothers in all of this. The woman, she speaks to me all the time when she sees me. She's very friendly, very appropriate, and she's very stern with her children. I watch them. We hear them. We see them. You know, 3 boys and 1 girl. And, you know, they've got a handful. And the dad, he kind of, hello, little bit of conversation, but almost next to none. You see? And he's just off. He goes to work and he does his thing, he comes back. But now, you see, now that, because they have their own children, they've learned some order and discipline that they weren't having before.
yeah,
You see? And they've learned it simply because when they weren't having any, I used to hear screaming and shouting all the time from that house. Now they themselves have had to learn discipline and order the hard way.
yeah.
You see? And even the children obviously have learned it. And you know, people may not realize this, but it comes out in so many ways that are amazing. They used to have an extremely disordered and disorganized garden. And at the time when they had no children, they had 2 dogs. They had a Rottweiler and some little something, some yak thing.
Yeah, it was
Right? And their garden was horrific. It looked like an absolute jungle.
Yeah.
But now as they've had children, you know, we used to look and we used to think, my God, even until one time the man's fence fell down. Right? The whole fence was blown down. And the neighbor said, I'm not helping you to put it back up. And I was looking out the window, I had to shut the window because I didn't want to laugh. They were absolutely disorganized and indisciplined, even in their garden. But let me tell you now, since they have had 4 children and they have had to learn discipline and order, the garden is absolutely, it's transformed. They've even got like artificial grass and you know, absolutely transformed. He's made a den for the kids and himself at the back with his disco thing in there and whatever. But what I'm saying really is that all of that came simply out of one thing, that he had to learn discipline the hard way. Now, when he didn't have any children, he was absolutely indisciplined, disordered, disorganized, and living his life the way that he thought. And the way that he thought showed in the way that he lived his life. Since having children, those things had to change, if you like, by force. And my point really is that for some people, whether they like it or not, when they have this indiscipline in their life, in one area, it follows on to many other areas, you see? And that's why then they end up with some of the issues, some of the problems that they have, and then they begin blaming it on, you know, like this guy would be blaming me, because I'm not allowing him to park where he wants and behave how he wants. So it's my fault. But no, it isn't my fault. It's because you haven't learned manners.
Yeah.
And now he's had to learn manners the hard way. And now because he's got children growing up and he would have seen that, at least initially, because daddy doesn't have any manners, they also weren't having any manners to daddy. Daddy didn't like that. He had to fix that.
Yeah.
So in fixing his children, he's had to fix himself too.
Yeah.
And I can actually see the difference. You know, used to see even when he used to park, he'd just drive up, 1 wheel would be up the curb, 3 wheels would be down, 2 wheels on the curb, 1 down, all this kind of thing. You don't see that kind of behavior from him anymore. So the point that I'm making, which I guess is kind of made in what I've said, that small level of indiscipline that we see as a small level my little Johnny is the best, but you know he's a demon from hell, you've got to fix it.
Yeah.
Because he might be a little imp now, but one day he's going to be a dragon with big long teeth breathing out fire. And that's all I'm saying. You'll understand what I mean. I'm going to leave the analogy like that.
Yeah.
All right. So thank you very much.
Thanks for watching,
We'll be back
guys.
next week, and God bless.
God bless.
See you guys.
Because it's always slow.
Cool. I thought that was all right.